Yes, it's that time of the year again, and I can't believe how quickly Christmas got here. I don't know about you, but lately it seems like time is just speeding by. So anyway, guys, I'm so glad you could join me today. We're going to be making that gorgeous necklace that you saw in the intro. And if you subscribe to the Curated Bead box, this is the video for you. And if you don't subscribe, you can still make that necklace. You're just going to have to find similar beads. And I'm going to be leaving a list of all the materials down in the description section of this video. So if you need to get any beads and you need the sizes and the colors, you'll have them. And before we go any further, let me remind you about the timestamps down below. If you want to skip forward to any portion of the video, you can do so. And like I said before, we're going to be using the beads from the Curated Bead box for the month of December. And if you're not familiar with that box, I'll leave a link down below so you can go check it out. Anyway, guys, I'm very anxious to get going with this tutorial. So let's not waste any more time and let's turn the camera around and we'll get started. Here's the box we're going to be working with. As you can see, the name of the box is Sparkle and Shine. And we're definitely going to be using these filigree beads. So let me pull these aside. We're going to be using these seed beads, both colors. We're also going to be using some of these. And we're going to be using some of the beads from this strand as well. And this strand, I love these. These are really nice. And I love these as well. These are gorgeous. And we're going to be using some beads from this strand. I love the color of these beads. And I love these beautiful galaxy glass beads. They're absolutely gorgeous. And we're going to be using some beads from this strand. We're also going to be using these lampwork beads. Pretty much everything, as you can see. And from the Finding Starter Kit, we're going to be using the beading wire. So let me pull that out. Here it is. And we're also going to be using a clasp, one of these lobster claw clasps. And we're going to be using the jump rings as well. Let me put this away. I almost forgot, you will need the crimp beads that came in the kit. I'm also going to be using some crimp bead covers, and I'm going to be using 2 of these gold ones from this set. I got this on Amazon. As you can see, they come in different colors, and these are 4mm in size. I like to use wire guardians on the beading wire, but you don't have to. These are totally optional, but I'm going to be using some of these. These are gold colored, as you can see, and I think I got these on Amazon as well. I'm also going to be using some chain for the bottom of the necklace, and this chain will not be functional. It's just going to be decorative. And basically, guys, I just went into my stash and picked 3 different types of chain. This is like a curved chain. This is like an oval chain, roller chain, and this is a large curved chain that I actually got off a clutch bag many years ago. I didn't like the chain on it, so I removed it and saved it. And I thought I would repurpose it because this type of chain is very durable. It doesn't tarnish. So anyway, I'm going to be using all 3 chains, and I'm only going to snip off a piece that's 10 inches long from each one of these. And there are no rules, okay? So whatever chain you can find, preferably 3 different kinds of chain, 1 chunky one and 2 other ones. That would be ideal. Now I know this is a lot of beads. Obviously we're not going to use all of them. So let's go ahead and pick the beads we're going to be using. From the lampwork beads, we're going to select 2 of them. So there's 2. I don't know how many of these seed beads we're going to use, so we're just going to leave them in the bags for now. And we're going to be using 8 of these antique silver 4mm beads, okay? We're going to be using 8 of these gold 6mm pearl beads. There's my 8. We're going to be using 4 of these 8mm silver beads. These are the silver drizzled glass beads. We're going to use 4 of these large 10mm pearl beads. We're going to use 4 of these filigree beads, and these are 9mm, almost 10mm big. We're going to be using 2 of these lovely 12mm crackle beads in this champagne color. I love these. We'll also be using 2 of these 12mm crackle beads in this silver color. And I think we'll use 4 of these falling crystal galaxy glass beads. These are so gorgeous. Look at these guys. I love these. So these are all the beads we're going to be using, as well as these seed beads. And I wasn't going to embellish any of them, but I decided to use some bead caps on these large crackle beads. So I pulled out the August box. I still had some beads left over, and I found some beautiful bead caps. And here they are. These are filigree bead caps, and I'm going to use these on the Crackle beads only. If you don't have these bead caps, you can certainly string these on without the bead caps and they would look just fine. So let me show you what I came up with. I was playing with them earlier on and I came up with a pattern, and I always use these rods to create my patterns, but you don't have to, guys, okay? These are my magic rods. I carry them in my Etsy store, and I'll leave a link down below if you're interested, but I use these to create my bead patterns and also to string seed beads and other things. It just makes it so much easier to pick up seed beads with these rods and then string them directly onto the beading wire. And I'll show you how to do that later on. But like I said, you don't have to use these at all. You can just use a beading board or just your beading mat. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I think what I'll do for the bead pattern, I'm going to start with a small bead, the 4mm size. And then I'm going to go to the next size up, which is the 6mm size. Okay, and I am mixing silver and gold. I think it looks really nice. And then I'm going to go up to the next level, which is the 8mm size. Okay. Now the next size up would be a 10mm bead. And this filigree bead is not quite 10mm, but it's very close. So I'm going to thread this one on. Just like that. And now since I'm using gold, I'm going to use silver next. So I'm going to use this large crackle bead and I'm going to put some bead caps on it. Here are my bead caps. So let's go ahead and thread a bead cap on. And then the bead, and then another bead cap, just like that. I love that. It looks really pretty. And now let's go ahead and go down in size. So I'm going back to this 9mm filigree bead, and now comes the galaxy bead, and then the pearl bead, the 6mm size, and the 4mm size. And I really like that. I think it looks beautiful. And I think what I'm going to do now is add this lampwork bead. That looks gorgeous. I really like that. And I think I'm going to repeat another bead pattern on this side, but it's not going to be exactly the same. Some of the beads will be the same, but the center bead will be different. So let's go ahead and thread on a 4mm bead. And then the 6mm bead. And now since I have the galaxy glass bead up against this gold filigree bead, I'm going to use something different on this side. I'm going to use one of these silver beads. Just like that. And then the pearl bead. And now I'm going to thread on one of these crackle beads. So once again, I'm going to thread on a bead cap. And then the crackle bead, another bead cap, that looks nice. And now the large pearl bead, the silver bead, the 6mm gold pearl bead, and the 4mm antique silver pearl bead. And I really like that. That looks really, really pretty. Don't you think, guys? Look how nice that looks. So let me go ahead and secure my beads with this silicone stopper. And I'm going to bring them together. And that way I can measure it. And this measures 6 1/4 inches. So that's important to know if you want to figure out how long you want your necklace to be. But before I go any further, I'm going to thread another one of these rods with the exact same bead pattern. So let me do that off camera and I'll be right back. So here are my rods all threaded up, as you can see, and I absolutely love that. I like how it looks. And this gives you some idea of how it's going to look. On the bottom, I'm going to have the 3 pieces of chain, and on the top, it's just going to be seed beads. And it's going to be very, very long. I'm going to make my necklace between 38 and 40 inches long. So technically, you don't really need a clasp, but I'm going to show you how to do a clasp in case you want to make your necklace shorter. Let's go ahead and get the beading wire. Now you're going to need 2 pieces that are 18 inches long at least, okay, 18 to 20 inches long. So what I recommend that you do is just to find the center and just go ahead and cut your piece of wire in half. That way you'll have 2 even pieces. Let me go ahead and put some crimp beads here. And here's a wire guardian, and here's a crimp bead cover. We're going to start by threading a crimp bead on, just like that. Get your wire guardian now and go ahead and thread the end of the beading wire through one of the ends. like this. Okay, take your end of the beading wire now and thread it back through the wire guardian, the other end of it. Like this. And now we're going to take the end of the beading wire and thread it through the crimp bead and bring everything down. Just like that. I like to bring the little legs together of the wire guardian. You don't have to, it's optional. Make sure you take out any slack. You want that beading wire inside that channel, okay? You want to make sure that your beading wire is sitting parallel inside that crimp bead. And we're going to do it the easy way today. We're simply going to squish that crimp bead like that. And you definitely want it to be flat, okay? If it's not flat, then it's not crimped properly. And now we're going to take our crimp bead cover and slip it on from underneath, just like that. I like to use crimping pliers to close it up, so very carefully go ahead and close your crimp bead cover. Try not to dent the metal, okay? And I usually like to go around the whole thing so that I can get a nice round shape. But you do want to take your time with this, okay? Don't rush this part. You can also use chain nose pliers if you don't want to use crimping pliers. So this is what you should have, okay? And I'm going to leave the tail there so that we can thread it through the beads, okay? So we're going to go ahead and thread the beads now. I think I'll start at this end. And I'm simply offloading from the rod directly onto the beading wire. So here are the beads all threaded on. Make sure the tail is tucked in. You want that tail tucked into the beads. And this is what it looks like. I really like that. Now before I go any further, I'm going to thread this one the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other piece of beading wire and thread this rod, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I threaded both strands, and let me measure this again. It's about 6.5 inches when you include the little loop there, okay? So now what I'm going to do is thread seed beads till I get to the clasp. So let me go ahead and get the seed beads. I'm actually going to use both colors. So here's the first color, and here's the second color. And I'm going to mix it all up. I want both colors on the strands, and I want it to be random. So mix it up really, really well. And now I'm going to pick up the beads with my rods, and I'm not going to follow any pattern at all. I'm just going to randomly pick them up. It's so much easier to pick them up with the rods and then load them directly onto the beading wire than it is to try to pick them up with the beading wire. So that's another thing that these rods are useful for, okay? They work really well with seed beads. And I'm just going to continue to load them until I get approximately 8 or 9 inches. And like I said, it's going to be random, so I'm not following any pattern at all. The best thing to do is to thread them on without looking. So anyway, guys, I'm going to continue to thread these on, and I'm going to speed up the video. So here's one of the rods threaded on, and it's about 8 inches, okay? And it's very full, as you can see. I actually carry these in a longer length. I carry them in 12-inch lengths. This one's actually the 9-inch length. It would have been much easier to use a 12-inch length, but I had these on hand, so I thought I would use them. So let me go ahead and thread another one just like this. So here are my two rods threaded on, as you can see, and the nice thing is that I can hold the beads together with these silicone stoppers, and I don't need to measure each one. I just hold one up against the other one and just make sure that they're both the same length. And again, these measure 8 inches, which is fine because the clasp is going to add another inch or so. So by the time we add the chain to the bottom of the necklace and these seed beads, it'll be about 40 inches. So now let me go ahead and thread these onto each of the strands. Here's my first strand, and again you want to make sure that the tail is tucked into these beads here, okay, at this end. So now you just simply remove the silicone stopper, take a few seed beads, and I like to grab quite a few between my index finger and my thumb, thread it through, and there you go. It's as simple as that. It's a lot quicker to thread the seed beads on like this than to try to thread each individual seed bead one by one using just the beading wire. So I'm going to continue to thread these on until I get to the end. So as you can see, I've threaded this one on, very easy. I have a crimp bead cover, and my wire guardian. So once again, thread on your crimp bead like this. Thread on your wire guardian, going one end and then down the other end. Like this, and then take the tail and thread it back through the crimp bead and bring it all down. Make sure you remove any slack. Take the tail and thread it through a few of the beads. And pull it through. And again, you want to make sure you remove any slack. But you want it to be flexible, okay? You don't want it stiff. You definitely don't want to see any gaps in the beads, okay? A good idea is to coil up your strand like this to make sure it's flexible, okay? And now you're going to go ahead and crimp down your bead. Make sure it's nice and flat, just like that, okay? Take your crimp bead cover and slip it on, like this. And then go ahead and close it up the best way you can. So that's what you should have. And now using the flush side of your cutters, make sure you get in here really close and snip off your excess beading wire. And this is what you should have. Okay, so that's one strand. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the other strand now. Here's my strand. And once again, I'm going to remove the stopper from the end. Grab a few seed beads. Thread them on, and if you're using rods, guys, put your fingers on this end of the rod, that way you can stabilize it, and then remove the seed beads from this end. So I'm going to go ahead and continue threading these on. So this one's threaded on, as you can see, and I'm going to go ahead and crimp off this end just like I did with this one, and I'll be right back. Okay, here are my two strands. As you can see, they're finished. I just have to add the clasp, and we're going to add some chain at the bottom. I've already cut my chain, as you can see, and I know we don't have a lot of space here. It's a very long necklace, but let me show you how we're going to arrange them. This large one's going to be on the bottom. This one's 10 inches long. This next one is about 9 1/4 inches long. It's going to sit on top like that, okay? And then this one is about 8 3/4 of an inch long, and that's going to be on the top there, okay? But the lengths really don't matter, okay? You can have them all the same length. I just thought I would make them slightly graduating in lengths. So here's a jump ring, and this is one of the ones that came in the kit. Open up your jump ring, and then just hook on your chain. I'm going to start with a larger one first, and then the next one, like this, and then the shorter one, and then hook it onto the bottom of your strand like this, and then close up your jump ring really well. So this side's done, and now we're going to do the same thing with this side. So here's my jump ring. Open it up, hook the bottom chain onto it, and then the medium one, and then the shorter one, like this, and then the strand, and close it up. And look at this, guys. Doesn't that look pretty? I love the different kinds of gold too. And it really blends in well with the different kinds of gold that you see in the strand. Okay, that's another reason why I chose different kinds of chain. So this is a very yellow gold. This is more of a rosy gold. And this is another very yellowish gold, as you can see. And it looks so nice draped like this. So now all we have to do is add the clasp and another jump ring on the other side. Here are my two jump rings. Here's my clasp. Go ahead and open up this jump ring. Hook it onto the strand. Hook on your clasp like this. And close up your jump ring really well. And now on this side, we're just going to hook on the jump ring. You want to make sure that you close all of your jump rings really well. And these are really good jump rings. They have cuts that are very clean, so it's easy to close them up with no gaps. It's going to be very difficult for me to show you the entire necklace, but I'll do the best I can, and I will show you some footage in a few moments. But anyway, guys, here it is. Isn't that beautiful? It is so pretty. I love these gorgeous lampwork beads. And I love these bead patterns, graduating in size from large to small. It's so beautiful, and the chain just really dresses it up. The seed beads tie the whole thing in, as you can see. So pretty. So anyway, guys, that's the necklace. I'm very happy with it. I love the colors. And like I said earlier, the necklace is so long you really didn't need a clasp, but I wanted to show you how to add a clasp if you wanted a shorter version of this. So let me go ahead and put this necklace on and show you what it looks like. Well, I thought I would put something more festive on, and I'm ready to go to a Christmas party. This necklace is definitely a party necklace in my opinion, but I guess you could wear it to dinner or pretty much anywhere. It's very versatile, and the colors are so neutral they pretty much go with anything. And since we received so many beads with the Curated Bead box for December, you can certainly make a bracelet and matching earrings. Alright everybody, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope I've given you some ideas and some inspiration. I hope you can make your own necklace. Thank you so much for watching. Happy holidays if I don't see you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Bye.